Does anyone have a question?
I have a question, Stuart. Chris.
Yes, Chris?
Stuart, I was reading Rudy's words about receiving energy in class as being very powerful, but even more powerful, he thought, was what we receive when we're working by ourselves. Could you talk about that, please?
Rudy said that it's more powerful working by ourselves.
Yeah, that we
Really?
would we would learn more working by ourselves. And I just wondered about that.
Well, uh, I don't remember him ever saying that, Chris, but maybe he did. I don't know. Anyway, look, working by oneself is a much more difficult, situation. You sit in a class like this, there's 20 some odd people here, all focused, all opening inside. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of Shakti. That Shakti will help you build a system that you can carry over to when you sit and work on yourself. Now, I'm not sure whether there's more you get by working on yourself or less. I don't have an answer for that. All I know is if you're doing the exercise properly in this meditation, in the class, you're going to get an enormous amount. If
Yeah.
you do it properly, sitting on your own, you're going to get an enormous amount. That's what this class is for. It's training. You understand? I say it over and over again. This class is not a spiritual life. Spiritual life is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This class is basic training. It's a place you come to learn to build a system that's strong enough to have a spiritual life. And I don't think that any of this stuff is in opposition to each other. Whether you got to work at home because it gives you a sense of independence. I can do this for myself. I can quiet my mind when I sit down. I can open. You got to come to class because there's the training that helps you. There's the powerful energy that helps you build a system inside that enables you to find also your independence. I mean, frankly, I'm not looking for disciples, not to have to defend myself. There's no need for that. But I'm not looking for any, I'm looking for people that really want to be with God, that really want a spiritual life. And if that is real inside anyone sitting in this class, understand they will carry it over to their sitting independently, and there's no conflict. One really nurtures the other. One nurtures the other. So I don't know. As I say, Chris, I never heard Rudy say anything like that. I heard him say what I'm saying. You come to the class, there's a lot of energy, which is true. It's hard to muster up this kind of energy sitting by yourself. The energy builds a chakra system that enables you to to be able to sit on your own for a half hour. That enables you to connect to spirit on your own. So these two things work in tandem with each other. One really supports the other. You have to do your independent work,
Yeah.
at the same time, you have to come to class. This work is not, I don't tell people just listen to your breathing and focus on the third eye and,
Yeah.
chant a mantra. It's not like that. It requires training to do this. And that's what this class is all about. That's what when you go to high school, they give you homework. Sitting home on your own is like homework,
Yeah.
learning the meditation independently, and that's great. But never to think that one of these things is in opposition to the other or more important than the other. They're not. They work in tandem with each other. And the ultimate goal is oneness with God. That's the ultimate goal. You need to look, we need to live independent lives. We're all different, and we need to function that way. And we need the strength also to do that. I've had people tell me in the past, well, I don't need the meditation anymore. And I've learned what you had to teach. I say, fine, I would meet them 10 years later. Well, do you still teach that stuff that you used to teach? Yeah. Oh my God, that was fantastic. It really made me grow. And you look at them 10 years later, they're half dead.
Yeah.
Doing what? Being, they let the ego get involved with something that the ego has no right to get involved with. A person's effort to have a spiritual life. I
Yeah.
can do it on my own. It's just nonsense. Even when I was 16 years old, I knew I couldn't do it on my own. I needed somebody to guide me. And then when Rudy left, I had to find out if the teachings I got from him, I really found out what it was all about when Rudy took his samadhi.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
So
That really clarifies that, because I couldn't understand why one would be more better than another, and I think you described it just what he meant. So thank you.
yeah, he used to speak about that, but I never heard him say that, you learn more when you sit on your own.
Well,
You
it
learn
wasn't
more.
exactly that. It was more like you really learn when you're sitting on your own. Probably meant once you got in the class, you know.
Okay, I don't know, Chris.
I
I know I
thank you.
need both of those things. They're
Me
both
too.
very real energies in my life,
Yeah,
and I have learned how to use both of them consciously. And that's what enabled me to grow in my life. One was not better than the other.
yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Chris. Does anyone else have a question they'd like to ask? The sorriest situation really are people who get into their brain that they can do it by themselves. They don't need anyone. They are independent. And I've discovered in my life that the greatest independence is the realization how we are dependent on everything in life. Once a person can accept that, they will have real independence. Because then they let life become the teacher. Life becomes the guru. When life becomes the guru, life is sacred, and we interact with the sacred nature of life. We have to bring a higher level of consciousness to it. Does anyone else have a question that would like to? He did say to me, I'll never forget, he came back from India once, Rudy, and he really had a hard trip. It was the trip that he made, he had to make a break from Swami Muktananda, where it finally became too much for him. And he said, I've been through this 30 years now, and I don't need to be treated this way anymore. And I was sitting in the back of the second floor of his house there. And he came and he sat down next to me and he said to me something very touching. He said, Stuart, ultimately, we are all in this alone. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
We come to a meditation class to build a system inside that enables us to openly embrace. I mean, ultimately, when everyone dies, we're in this alone. And what did we learn in life? In order to embrace higher energy and attain a state of samadhi. Not I am more important than life. I know better. I know better than everybody else. It's just bullshit. And it's just ego. And it never amounts to anything in this world. But I'll never forget that. It was really a sad thing when that took place. So many years of sitting, but also treated in such a bad way. And I'm not saying this because Rudy told it to me. I'm saying this because I saw it with my own eyes. And when I saw it with my own eyes, I asked him, why do you do this? Why do you? And he told me, I need somebody who's strong enough. So look, Ananda is strong enough to break me down. If I don't get broken down, I will never get to God. And he came back from India after that trip, and we're all in this alone. And it's true, we are ultimately all in this alone. But in order to be in it alone, we have to learn how to be alone and to be connected with God and to open to higher energy and never assume that we can do this without the help of teachers and, energy forces in the cosmos, like Rudy and Nityananda and other energy forces in the cosmos, Lohans and, all the Mahasiddhas that live, Milarepa and, or Junior, I forgot their names now. But we need whatever life presents us. Because ultimately, one day, we all have to leave here. And the way to leave here, with an open heart, with love, gratitude, embracing higher energy, embracing life. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Stuart, I have a question.
Yes, Bob.
What does it mean to break oneself down?
Uh, I mean, look, Bob, how do I answer a question like, what do you mean? What does it mean? What keeps you and everyone from having a spiritual life is the image you have of yourself. It's your ego. It's that fear in you of taking a step into the unknown. And when you break yourself down, you open inside and build the inner strength that enables you to receive wisdom, to receive the energy of a higher nature, and to allow it to live inside you and develop you, first of all, as a human being, and secondly, as somebody who truly, is on a journey to become one with higher energy in the universe. The ego needs to be broken down. The image you have of yourself needs to be broken down. We need to learn to surrender in such depth that we get free of the one person who is keeping us from having a spiritual life, and that's ourselves. So Rudy broke me down. I had a huge ego when I was a kid. I needed somebody like that to remind me, yeah, you're a schmuck, Stuart. You have a lot of growth. You really have to grow a lot in your life. You haven't arrived yet. As intelligent as you think you are, and as gifted as you think you haven't arrived yet. And Rudy was a consistent force in my life that broke down any image I had of myself, forcing me to surrender in a depth that it gave me an understanding of life in a totally unique and very unbelievable way. How to turn all the negative forces I was experiencing in life, especially those inside me, into a positive energy, into an energy that teaches me how to get closer to God. In order to do that, I needed to break down my ego. I couldn't do that for myself. I needed somebody who cared enough about me and recognized perhaps what I was as a human being and was willing to help me get past all the things in myself that were keeping me from opening to a higher force, God, higher energy, whatever you want to call it. Rudy did that for me. Muktananda did it for Rudy. The difference was Rudy did it. I mean, he was tough, Rudy, but he always did it with love. You knew when he was busting your chops, he really cared about you. He wasn't doing it to show who was more powerful, who was more gifted, who was more spiritual. He was doing it because he cared about your growth. He cared about you, growing and getting closer to God and getting free of the one person who keeps you from doing it, and that's yourself. That's breaking yourself down. Almost nobody can do that. I mean, I've never met anybody who can do this for themselves. They need somebody who's been over the path and is willing to take the time and make the effort to help them grow like that. It's what Rudy did for me. I mean, he once told me, I asked him, what happened the day we first met? He said, I saw you looking in the window of my store, and it was like seeing my son lost in the universe. I just pulled you right in the door. He started breaking me down. I wasn't thinking about getting a guru then, having a spiritual teacher. I was going out to have dinner with a friend of mine. Suddenly, everything in me had to change. It was the beginning of really getting broken down. And then to deal with a teacher, you have to have spiritual smarts. You really do. And that grows in a person. You begin to see how to what the correct answers are, how to deal with the situation, how to say thank you when you're being broken down, and to recognize what somebody is doing for you and to be grateful to them. And the wonderment of Rudy, it was always done with love. He really cared about every single person who studied with him. And yet I always say he was like incense, with the smell, the sweetness comes out of fire. It's exactly what Rudy was like. The sweetness, the love, it came out of fire. And it broke me down. Man, did it ever break me down? Wow. And I still need to be broken down. I don't assume that I've arrived yet. I wouldn't be teaching these classes if I thought I arrived. I need the classes, I need the inner work. It makes me grow every day. It also enables me to get free of me, my gifts, who I am, what I think I am, being a guru, being a swami, being this. You got to get free of everything. I always kid around and say if a saint, in order to be a saint, the saint has to surrender their sainthood. You know, they have to let go. They have to be nothing. And just a child of God guiding their life. And just to finish, the difficulty thing is living on the earth. Everybody, I don't care if you are a saint, everybody has something wrong with them. Everybody has problems. And in order to consciously work on yourself and get free of those problems, you've got to break yourself down. And once you think you're free of one level of problems, a whole new level that'll come to you. Because they keep us breaking ourselves down, growing, never assuming that we've arrived. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Thank you, Stuart. That was wonderful.
I hope it penetrates, I really do, because all of this stuff is so important. And most of this stuff scares the shit out of everybody. And it's so important. Okay. Thank you. Great questions tonight. Thank you. And God bless you all. And you all are breaking me down. I love having you in my life. I think it's remarkable that we can sit here, people from all over the country, from Brazil, from, all over the place here. And we can open to this energy that really enables us to break ourselves down, to become more human, to become a child of God, living in a crazy world. So God bless you all and thank you. There'll be meditation tomorrow at 1 o'clock and then Wednesday at this time. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. Bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.
Precious.
Night.
Good night.